12-game slate on a Monday. It feels overwhelming, but it is what it is. Here we are, breaking down the 12-game slate for Monday, May 13th. Yamamoto, I don't believe he's in, so scratch him out. I think it's going to be Stone for the Dodgers. DK is wrong here, but we'll dive into the pitchers here. I got the sheet pulled up and everything, and we'll get to that. Pay attention to the weather. It looks like we have a little bit of rain concern that we do have to be paying attention to in some of the stadiums. But yeah, let's just dive right in. So 24 starting pitchers going on the mound here today, and it's crazy that only 3 of them are priced over 9,000. Like I mentioned, I don't believe that Yamamoto is starting. I think DK has us wrong. I think it's going to be Gavin Stone for the Dodgers, who I believe is 8.1K. Yep, 8.1K. So kind of think of that. DK is probably going to update this at some point closer throughout the day. But so Lopez is going to be your most expensive pitcher at 9.7K for Atlanta, facing off against Chicago. Pay attention to the rain in this one. This is one of the games that does have a little bit of a rain threat to it. But even if rain and weather was not a concern here, I honestly don't have a whole lot of interest in Lopez. A tougher matchup going up against Chicago, and I really don't think we need to be paying this premium of a salary for him. Yeah, he's been solid so far this season. He's been pretty consistent, but there is a walk rate concern that I do have with him, and I feel like many people do have with him, is that he just has an elevated walk rate. And when you have those control issues, paying close to 10,000 on a large slate when there's so many other pitchers available, it just doesn't really seem like a necessity to me. Obviously, a GPP, yeah, go for it. He's not a fade by any mean, but in terms of optimal, I don't really have too much interest in him. Imanaga, this guy has been lights out this season, absolutely phenomenal. 5-0, a 1.08 ERA, just truly incredible. Walk rate, you do not have to worry about that at all. He's walking less than one batter per start so far this season, and he should be higher than 9.3K if it wasn't facing off against Atlanta. That lineup is terrifying, but they do have some maybe injuries going through them. If I recall correctly, Riley got injured last night. I want to say it was a hamstring. I'm trying to remember the Twitter notification I got. But he got pulled out of the lineup, and so if Riley's not in there, that's a massive right-handed bat that is out into the heart there. So obviously the Atlanta depth is quite deep, and their offense is incredible. But still, I'm going to have some interest in Imanaga at 9.3K. Regardless of the matchup, just because I think he is that good of a pitcher. Mitch Keller, he's actually going to be on my fade or no interest category. I don't want to say fade, just no interest. I'm just really high on these Milwaukee bats, especially once they got Yelich back. I feel like they just have so many left-handed, great, solid stud bats who can get to these right-handed pitchers that I'm going to have interest in Milwaukee bats and not so much on the right-handed pitchers going up against them. Milwaukee's looked very well. Milwaukee's offense has looked very well, very good throughout the course of the season. And Keller, even going into the season, he was a guy that I just did not have a whole lot of confidence in. You can see a 1.33 whip, 4.5 ERA. It's nothing to write home about, especially at 9.2K on the road when there's so many other pitchers that we can be going towards in a little bit of a cheaper range. Kirby, awesome, great real-life pitcher, just not a guy in DFS who I am super excited about, and been saying that for quite some time. Singer, here we go. This is the number one pitcher, the SP1 on the slate, in my opinion, facing off against Seattle. Seattle, it just has such a high strikeout rate. I think their strikeout rate against right-handed pitching is close to 30%. We've been picking on Seattle against right-handed bats or against right-handed pitching every single start essentially this season. So Singer, he's going to be the SP1. You can see it here. I do have him in the high salary. He's only 8.8K, but I wanted to fill five guys in this high salary thing. But also, there's not really a high salary. Like I said, there's only 3 guys priced above 9K on this massive 12-gamer. So Singer is going to be number 1. Imanaga, even though he's going up against Atlanta, I do have interest in him there. Kirby, he's solid. He's a solid pitcher for sure. He can have his upside games as well. Kansas City, it's a little bit of a tougher matchup, so I'm definitely going to be going towards Singer on that end. Going into the mid-tier, you see that St. Louis is doing that, pitching long relief, pitching opener kind of thing. So absolutely no interest at 8.3K for an opener. Just don't bother. Don't throw away your money. Don't even worry about that. But we're going to go with Crawford, Eflin, Sanchez, and I feel like a little bit of a break or a gap, and then Stone and Bybee. But Sanchez, we'll start from the bottom, work our way up. Sanchez, Christopher Sanchez, he's more of like a boom bust kind of guy. He's got a nice matchup. He's going and facing off against the Mets, and a nice matchup in terms of like the ballpark factor. It's pitcher friendly, we'll say, over there. But Sanchez, he's been very up and down so far this season. He's got a pretty low floor, but he also has a very high upside and a high ceiling towards him. So I think while he's a great tournament play in cash games, I wouldn't be going in that direction. I would definitely be sticking him towards the tournament plays. Sorry. Going right above him, we're going to go with Eflin and then Crawford. I honestly didn't know who I wanted to go to in this matchup between the two, and they're actually facing off against each other. Crawford, he's been solid. He's been very consistent throughout the course of the season. I like what he's been able to do, and I like the matchup that he has better. Tampa Bay's offense has just really struggled so far throughout the course of the season. They just can't seem to put it together. They strike out quite a bit. So I'm going to go with Crawford and his consistency and the matchup that he does have there. Whereas Eflin, I think he's going to do very solid as well. The consistency for him has not been there as much, so I have a little bit more of a hesitation towards Eflin in terms of cash games. Hang on, I might sneeze. Nope, went away. Oh, man. Do you guys ever get like disappointed when like the sneeze is coming and then it goes away and it's just like, I don't know. It's such a nice feeling. A good hearty sneeze. Totally off topic there. But back to Zach Eflin. Compared to Cutter Crawford, Eflin, he just has not been as consistent as the games and the starts go on throughout the course here. But I do like the matchup, facing off against Boston. Boston strikes out quite a bit. But I don't trust him as much as I feel like I would trust Crawford in this matchup. So we're going to go with Crawford, Eflin, Sanchez. And then, like I said, a little bit of a gap. And I think Stone. And then even more, a little gap. And then Bybee. Into the cheap tier, we're going to go with Vasquez and Soriano. I honestly wasn't sure which one I really wanted to go to here. I did end up going with Vasquez over Soriano, but I think both of those guys are just fine if you want to go in the cheap tier. Soriano's a little bit more of kind of like that Sanchez thing where like I feel like he's got a higher ceiling, but he also does have a little bit of a lower floor compared to Vasquez. And then with Trevor Williams, I feel like this is going to be like the... Who is this guy this season? Williams, historically he's been known like he allows a lot of hard contact and he allows a lot of home runs. But this season, he's doing very well. And I don't know what to believe. Do I believe the years of data that we've acquired on him? Or do we believe the guy that's 4-0 with a sub-2 ERA facing off against the woeful Chicago White Sox offense? I don't know. So is he going to be popular? It's going to be really interesting to see. I have no idea what the ownership's going to be on this guy. I could see a lot more people just getting a little bit more savings and going down to Vasquez and going down to Soriano. So maybe he doesn't see a whole lot of ownership here. When you look at like the advanced stats or the metrics, whatever you want to call it, like he's doing very well throughout the course of the season. Like he's not allowing that hard contact, which he has in years past. Like he's getting soft contact. He's getting a lot of ground balls. Like the home run issue that has plagued him in years past is essentially gone. Like, and you can see here, he stopped Baltimore, he stopped Texas, he stopped Houston. Like, this is not bad offenses that he's been stopping. So I don't know. I don't know. I have him ranked below Soriano and Vasquez, but like, I don't know. I might be looking too much into the past year's data still. I mean, we're only talking like 6-7 starts, but I don't know. This is gonna be tearing me apart. I feel for many more starts for Williams here, but facing off against the White Sox, I do think that he is a fine play in that regard. Arrighetti, I do want to say like looking at his surface numbers and the game logs, like, it's ugly. It's really bad. Like, there's no denying that at all. Oakland is definitely a team that you should have interest in here in terms of bats. Like, they're very affordable. But I will say, like, he can get strikeouts. Oakland strikes out quite a bit as a team, and Arrighetti, like, it's not surprising for him to get 5, 6, 7 strikeouts, and dirt cheap. Could be a little bit interesting in that regard there. So that's kind of where pitching is. Everybody else is just kind of like, yeah, it is what it is at that point. So going towards the bats, a lot of top bats that I do have interest in. San Diego is going to be leading the charge here. Both sides of the plate for San Diego. It doesn't really matter. Let me pull up their lineup here. Here we go. Going off against Colorado. So facing off against Hudson. Hudson is the worst pitcher on the entire slate. So that's one awesomeness for San Diego. Vegas has them as the highest implied run total. Another mark for San Diego, which is why we like them. The Colorado bullpen, shaky at best. Another mark for San Diego. And then the price point for these guys is they're just so affordable. Well, they're playing in San Diego, Pitchers Park, so kind of a little bit less in that regard, but I don't think it's going to matter at all. It would not shock me if San Diego's able to put up 7, 8 runs here, tonight against the pitchers that are going for Colorado. And again, both sides of the plate. Hudson is a very even splits pitcher. It doesn't matter if the batter is in the left or right side of the box. It doesn't matter. So all these guys are going to be in play. Arias, he's still a guy that I just never like playing him. And even on this slate, even though the matchup is there, I just don't have any interest in playing him. He's got no home run upside. He's got no stolen base upside. And are we going to pay $4.5K for a guy who's he's not going to hit a home run. He knows he's not going to get a stolen base. He's just going to keep on raking in those singles for 3 points, maybe score a run. That's 5. So say he goes 3 for 4 tonight. Well, we'll give him 5 at bats because honestly, with how much offense I expect, we'll say he goes 3 for 5, 3 singles. It's 9 points, and then he scores on 1 or 2 of them. That's 11 to 13 points. Yes, that's satisfactory, but that is him hitting 3 for 5 and then getting driven home twice. I don't know. I don't think the upside is there. Yeah, he gets some doubles on occasion, but I don't know. I just can't stomach paying that much for him. I'd much rather go for guys with Cronenworth, Machado, Tatis, or even Xander Bogaerts. I know he's been really slumping so far over the course of the season, but he's going to snap out of this and he's going to be doing much better. So I'm going to have more interest in them rather than Arias. Houston, I got right below them, facing off against Stripling, who just can't strike anybody out. Obviously, Tucker and Alvarez are going to be in the forefront of those guys. Stripling allows a lot of hard contact and a higher batting average to left-handed bats. So obviously, Tucker, Alvarez are going to be in there. But honestly, anybody else is in there as well, just because, again, Stripling doesn't strike anybody out. All the Houston for me. Philadelphia, they're facing off against, who are they facing off against? Manaea. Manaea, just a lot of control issues with him in terms of walks and everything. So with that, I think that Philadelphia is definitely going to be a team I'm going to have interest in. A lot of power in their right-handed bats. Just pay attention to their lineup. I think they have a couple of injuries that are day-to-day that we do have to be paying attention to here. Yeah, Real Muto, Schwarber. Real Muto was scratched yesterday. Schwarber, Turner's on the IL. But, yeah, so injury-wise, pay attention to this. If Schwarber's not in, honestly, it's not going to change my mind too much at all. I still think they're going to be a top team. If Real Muto's not in, I'm going to have a little bit less interest. Whit Merrifield is definitely a guy I want to highlight if I am going into a Philly stack, or even if you're just looking for a one-off in cash. He's got dual position eligibility, which is fantastic. He's super cheap, 3.2K, and honestly, he might be batting leadoff here in this matchup. So I do like Merrifield. He's been doing a lot better recently or over the past, we'll say 10 games here. Yeah, 8.3. He's at a 9 for 37. Love it. Better than what he was doing. But honestly, it's more so the opportunity that he has in this righty-lefty matchup on a high-powered offense, batting leadoff. He's going to have guys behind him that are going to be able to drive him in. So Whit Merrifield, a nice salary saver if you do want to go towards that Philly route. Arizona, I mentioned how they really, really struggle against right-handed pitching. I do have Ashcraft over here. I know he's a right-handed pitcher, but still, he's more of a even to reverse switch pitcher. So things are kind of backwards in that regard with him. So I actually kind of do like the Arizona side of things in this matchup, even though they do struggle against righties. I think that with Ashcraft being such a reverse splits pitcher, I think they're going to do just fine here. And Vegas backs me up. They're one of the higher implied totals on this slate. Going over into GPP, Milwaukee, I already talked about it. Like Keller, yeah, he's okay. He's a fine pitcher. Like, Keller's a better pitcher than a lot of these guys on this slate. I'm not knocking that by any means, which is kind of why I put Milwaukee more into the GPP category. But still, once they brought Yelich back, I have just so much more interest in their lineup. Contreras is just smacking the what off the ball. It's insane. But Yelich being in that lineup absolutely boosts everything around him. Trang, he's going to give you the stolen base upside as well. So I just really like the Milwaukee side. They are a little bit pricey, especially when you are putting in Contreras and you are putting in Yelich and Trang for the stolen base upside. But it is what it is. Again, target the lefties for Milwaukee if you are going in that route. Texas, Atlanta, just great offenses and a little bit tougher pitching matchups. And then on the cheap side, we're going to go with Washington as my favorite cheap stack. And these are guys that you can go to. Sorry, I'm getting like so many phone notifications right now. I don't even know if the mic's picking those up. But Washington would be my favorite cheap team that would be targeting, and especially the left-handed guys. Flexen allows just crazy video game numbers against left-handed hitting, and great for us and great for Washington. Their best bats are lefties. So CJ Abrams obviously is going to be at the top of the list for them. But then you got Winker and Garcia, both left-handed bats, who are swinging it very well and are putting up some nice numbers here throughout the course of the season. The Angels, I think they're really interesting. Is it me? And I brought this up to the Discord. Is it me, or does it seem like LA, the Angels, just have this injury plague to their top bats year after year after year? Like, I don't know. I just feel like over the past couple of years, every time I highlight the Angels hitters, it's just IL day to day, just up and down the lineup all the way. And we're here once again. We've been here for quite a bit. Like, a lot of these guys have been injured for quite a while. But St. Louis, they're going, it's a bullpen game, essentially, for them. So I am going to have interest in the Angels. Adele, he's finally turning into the prospect that we kind of have been expecting for years and years. That hasn't really panned out at all, but he's starting to swing the bat very nicely. So 3.5K, he'd probably be one guy that we'd be targeting, probably like one of the top two guys that we'd be targeting from this Angel stack. And then I already mentioned Oakland as just another cheap team facing off against Arrighetti, who, again, he's not a great pitcher, but he can get strikeouts, so just be aware of that. So I think that's kind of where the slate breaks down. There's a lot of ways that you can go with in terms of pitching and in terms of batting. Singer's going to be my SP1. Imanaga, tough matchup against Atlanta, but if they got Riley out and they got injuries to other guys, go for it. Crawford, Eflin, absolutely. Sanchez upside, Soriano upside, but limited floor with both those guys. I like Vasquez's floor. Williams, he's got a great matchup, doing very well this season. Even the advanced metrics are saying that, he's allowing low contact, but he just doesn't strike anybody out. I guess that's the other thing. He's not striking anybody out. I feel bad going back to Williams here, but again, it's just the mental gymnastics. I don't know what to expect from this guy, but low strikeouts, soft contact, good matchup. Gotta have some interest. So thanks for watching. As always, good luck in all of your contests here tonight, and we will be back on Tuesday, tomorrow, for another video.